All right, let's get right into it. The way companies operate in the world is changing in a really big way. We're moving past this old idea that a business's only job is to turn a profit. Today, the entire rulebook is being rewritten. Being a responsible company isn't just a PR move anymore. It's actually becoming central to how you get anything done.
Now, take a look at this number, 45%. It's a pretty big figure just sitting there. But what does it actually represent? Well, it points to a massive, often invisible cost of doing business the old way.
And here's what it's all about. Research from actually found that almost half, 45%, of all delays on major mining projects are because of problems with permitting. That's a huge jam in the system, and it costs companies a ton of time, money, and momentum. But believe it or not, that's not even the whole story.
Because on top of that, another 26% of those delays come from something totally different: stakeholder opposition. We're talking about real pushback from local communities, from the public. So when you add those two up, you realize that the vast majority of these incredibly expensive delays, they aren't technical problems, they're social problems.
And that forces us to ask a really critical question. What if the problem isn't the mine or the pipeline or the factory itself? What if the real issue is the way companies are approaching these things in the first place? And this, right here, is where the whole conversation shifts.
So that 71% that we just calculated, that points to a deep and seriously costly disconnect between companies and the communities they operate in. And we're not just talking about project delays. This is about damaged reputations and a real painful hit to the bottom line.
So what's the fix? How do you repair that disconnect? Well, it means you have to completely redefine what responsibility even means. You have to move it from being an afterthought to being a core part of your business strategy. Let's dig into what that shift actually looks like. And this comparison really gets to the heart of it. The old way was just philanthropy. Writing a check here and there. It was a reactive donation. And honestly, it was seen as just another cost. But the new model, what we call modern corporate social responsibility, or CSR, is all about proactive engagement. It's a strategy that's fully integrated into the business, and it's seen as a real strategic advantage.
So, what is modern CSR really? Well, here's the formal definition. It's a strategic framework that embeds social and environmental concerns directly into a business's core operations. And that word embeds is absolutely the key. This isn't some add-on or a side hustle for the company. It's meant to be part of its DNA.
And this framework basically stands on three key pillars. First, you've got environmental stewardship, taking care of the planet. Second, ethical labor practices, treating your people right. And third, and this is the one that speaks directly to that problem we started with, active community engagement.
Okay, so that all sounds good in theory, right? But what does it look like in the real world? Let's take a look at a company that actually put these principles into practice and made it work.
So let's talk about Tallgrass, a pipeline company in the US. They were working on converting a pipeline and were facing that classic scenario with a huge potential for community conflict. But instead of just trying to push through it, they did something completely different.
They managed to turn what could have been a huge conflict into a real community partnership. How? First, they engaged proactively. They went out and negotiated a benefit agreement before problems could blow up. Then, they empowered the local landowners by giving them actual choices on payment options. And finally, they invested right back into the community, committing over $1 million to local support.
And this case just perfectly illustrates the main lesson here. The source material really drives this home. Proactive and, this is the important part, genuine engagement is what makes all the difference. It's not about checking a box, it's about building real relationships, and that's what's absolutely essential for success and for avoiding all that costly public pushback.
And hey, Tallgrass isn't some outlier. Think about a huge company like Starbucks and their CAFE practices. It's basically a whole set of standards that covers everything from the quality of the beans to how farmers are paid and how the environment is protected. They literally embedded their ethics right into their most critical business function, getting the coffee. It's the same core idea at play.
All right, so we've covered the what and the how, but now we get to the really important question, the why. What are the actual tangible benefits for a business that decides to really embrace this modern approach to responsibility? The benefits all feed into each other, creating this powerful positive cycle. See, when you engage the right way, you build deep stakeholder trust. That trust then builds a strong reputation, which makes you a place people want to work for and partner with. Those two things together give you a serious competitive advantage.
And all of that combines to create organizational resilience, which is just a fancy way of saying you have the ability to handle challenges and thrive no matter what the world throws at you.
But you know what? This isn't the end of the story. This whole field is always evolving, and being a globally responsible leader is quickly becoming one of the most critical skills any executive can have.
And the next big thing? It's already here. Companies are starting to use data and even AI to better measure, manage, and this is key, transparently report on the real-world impact they're having, both socially and environmentally. What that means is that being responsible is becoming less about making promises and more about showing provable, accountable results.
So, that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In a world as connected as ours, where a company's reputation can take years to build, but can be destroyed in seconds, can any business, really, afford the high cost of being irresponsible?